if the club wants to play in October once again. When I was in high school, and I currently am in high school, I had an economics teacher this past year who used to say to us, often at random times, class, it's time to get in touch with the sounds of the universe. At the time, we all thought he was a bit crazy. You know, now as I think back a little bit on it, I realized he was just a bit eccentric. My economics teacher probably was onto something, though. There are times when the universe is clearly trying to tell us something. And last week, I was extremely busy. I didn't have time to watch every game, and I've only recently caught up on a lot of games this week. I saved some games on my DVR because I knew, that there'd be some good ones on there. Anyone who has spent any time with the Baseball Podcast Network knows how much I love this sport. I consider this sport a true love of mine, and I forever will do that. And over the past few days, I had time to catch up on some games, and it was a fun week of baseball for me. And as a baseball fan, we go through this sort of baseball life together as baseball fans, watching games and enjoying games together. And that's what's so beautiful about this podcast as well. Like, we all watch our select games, we all watch our teams throughout the week, or if you don't have teams, you follow along with the scores, and then we come here. We come to BPN Weekly, and we hash out our differences and discuss the week that was baseball. And I just wanted to sort of give an impromptu thank you to everyone tuning in right now. And, we're 31 minutes into this podcast, about halfway through. We still got a lot of baseball to cover, so I don't want to cut any of this short. But just a thank you. A thank you to everyone listening. A thank you to everyone that has made the Baseball Podcast Network the Baseball Podcast Network. Because without you, without your listens, we're nothing. We're just a bunch of guys that are talking baseball to ourselves. But with you, we are everything. And I just wanted to give a huge thank you to not only listen for this podcast, but listening to our other ones, the Baseball Podcast Network. Maybe you're there for your team, maybe for a rival, maybe for whatever reason you listen to other podcasts. Thank you for making this one a part of your weekly schedule, and I hope you make some others at our network as well a part of that weekly routine, because if you have a favorite team, take a look at our schedule, and we'll be sure to have that podcast for you on a weekly basis. MLB sources report that Mike Foltynewicz, coming off of yet another disappointing start, will be optioned to Gwinnett today as the Braves search for answers for their beleaguered rotation. While the Braves have been flying high with an offense that has led to multiple shootout victories this month, the pitching staff as a whole has been good enough with an ERA of 4.08, which is just outside the top 10. However, a closer look reveals that only 6 teams have a worse ERA by their starters this month. The NL East leading Braves have been able to still win 15 of 20 games this month, but 7.45 runs per game is, not sustainable. Foltynewicz's struggles certainly were not expected as the 2019 season began. The previous year, that a former Astros top prospect seemed to take a giant step forward with a 2.85 ERA, backed by new career bests of a 3.37 FIP, 27.2% strikeout rate, and a home run per 9 rate that fell under 1 for the first time in his career. The expectation was that while maybe not on the level of Max Scherzer's and Chris Sale's, Foltynewicz would be a respectable force at the top of the Braves rotation as they waited for younger arms to join him. But that didn't happen as he hit the medical room in his first spring start with elbow soreness. After essentially missing spring training, he started the Gwinnett Stripers opener and threw 5 no-hit innings. It seemed like he would be back in the Braves rotation in no time, but 3 subsequent starts lacked the excitement of his April 4th outing. Worse, each start seemed worse than the last one, but no worries, he was just working on kinks. That's what rehab starts are for. Don't look at the numbers, please. Don't look at the numbers. After returning to the majors on April 27th, Foltynewicz struggled woefully over 4 consecutive starts, allowing at least 4 runs each time, but on May 19th, it seemed like he was starting to get it and look like the 2018 version of Foltynewicz. He limited the Brewers to a pair of solo homers and then cruised against the Cardinals 6 days later, allowing just an unearned run, striking out 7, and walking no one. But success has been a rarity since, and even when you might point to something and say, there, he's coming out of it, the start was full of other issues. Against the Tigers on May 31st, he struck out 8 batters, a season high. He also gave up 3 homers and 5 runs over 5 innings. On June 16th, he limited the Phillies to 1 run and struck out 6 over 6 innings. He also walked 5. More frequently, Foltynewicz was just bad. There's been a good deal of speculation that Foltynewicz has been pitching through pain. This is certainly a possibility, as Foltynewicz has hit the IL previously for bone spurs and started the 2019 campaign with elbow soreness. This was also a worry earlier in the season when his fastball is often 2 to 3 miles per hour slower than where it was the previous season. To be fair, it has rebounded to its regular levels since that Milwaukee start that has us excited on May 19th. But even if he's not hurt, perhaps his mechanics have taken a bit of a hit as he tried to pitch around pain. I can only say that his release point is fairly close to where it was last year. However, pitch location has been horrendous. With the exception of his slider, Foltynewicz's other pitches have, on average, been closer to the middle of the strike zone than in 2018. This highlights the difference between command and control. Foltynewicz's walk rate is at a 3-year low, but too many fat strikes is a bad recipe. And then there is the maturity questions. I often fall on the side that believes we make far too much out of Foltynewicz's emotions. That said, his manager even mentioned it last night. Some pitchers are superhuman when they're mad. Others are fighting themselves with every pitch. Foltynewicz seems to be the latter. It's hard enough to beat the opposition without getting into your own way. As I have pointed out, at this point, the Braves have to write off Foltynewicz. That's not to say he can't change things and force his way back into the discussion. And if you're a Braves fan, hope that he does. But the team can't think when Folty is back, because he simply might not be this year. It could be a lost season that Foltynewicz rebounds from in 2020. For a team with aspirations of being a contender yearly, that gives you hope. For a team with aspirations this season of competing for a title, it's not all that useful. What do the Braves do then? Well, that is much more complicated. In the short term, they'll look in-house for help. Unfortunately, the Stripers rotation hasn't exactly been cruising it since the promotion of Mike Soroka. Only one pitcher has a FIP under 4, and that's Bryce Wilson, sporting a 3.79 ERA and 3.9 FIP. His control, which has often left him in a short major league career, has once again been sparkling. However, the arrival of the juice ball in AAA has led to a huge increase in homers, from 0.35 homers per 9 with Mississippi last year to 1.15 in Gwinnett this year. But Wilson started yesterday and would be on regular rest if he takes Foltynewicz's turn. The other option is the guy who replaced Wilson out of the pen yesterday, Sean Newcomb. The lefty threw a couple of solid frames and looks ready to rejoin the Major League roster. Other options like Kyle Wright and Colby Allard are also there, though neither inspires a good deal of confidence right now. Wright's battling to get his ERA under 6, while Allard continues to be just good enough to stick around, but not good enough to earn more opportunities. To be fair, some prospect watchers contend that Allard does look better than he did in 2018. The Braves could even consider moving Josh Tomlin to the rotation. Tomlin has a great deal of starting experience, as we all well know, and might bring some stability to the bottom of the staff. Of course, Tomlin has been just okay this year and was horrible last season. There are definitely options, but the Braves might be forced to look elsewhere for help. Since the middle of May, the Braves have 2 starters with an ERA under 4.90. Foltynewicz is not their only problem. Max Fried has been suspect since his tremendous early season numbers, and Kevin Gausman was ugly on the mound until he was sent to the IL. Dallas Keuchel replaces one of those 3, but the Braves will need more. Not to mention that Mike Soroka is on pace to breeze past his career high innings this season after spending much of the year on the IL. The trade market will develop further next month, but a few teams that have starters to trade, like the Indians and Rangers, might be buyers instead. That limits a market that wasn't robust to begin with. Alex Anthopoulos has his work cut out for him. Getting Keuchel was a shrewd move, but it seems unlikely that it'll be the last move the Brewers make to address the rotation. It simply is not performing. The offense has been wonderful, but you can't expect to score 7 runs off good pitchers in the playoffs. It felt like old times at Busch Stadium in St. Louis on Saturday as Albert Pujols had Cardinals fans going nuts, cheering once again. This time Pujols was wearing an Angels jersey, but it didn't matter. As Pujols returned to the venue for the first time since departing for Anaheim, he began his career in St. Louis back in 2001 and played there through the 2011 season. Fans showed him plenty of love too. As for Albert, he did what he's always done at Busch Stadium. He crushed a home run, and the atmosphere that followed was absolutely electric. His wife, Deidre, summed the day's events up pretty well. What a moment, what a day. Deidre Pujols said that probably was the most special thing I have seen in his whole career. What a special moment for Albert Pujols in his return to St. Louis. The Major League Baseball season runs from March to September with the World Series played in October. There are a total of 30 teams that will play 162 regular season games. Several of these games are on the road, and there are many played back-to-back. In some cases, there are doubleheaders, 2 games played by a team, one after the other, which makes for a long time spent on the field. 2019 marks the 150th anniversary of professional baseball, which means this tradition will continue for several more to come. It should not be a surprise to know that many professional baseball players use CBD. They know that it will assist them to recover faster and better, and it will also allow them to reach their performance peak more often. In a way, you could credit CBD in extending the careers of many Major League ball players. It's an obvious choice when you break down the many benefits to any level of athlete. You may have already considered CBD edibles or CBD tinctures for use in treating one or more health issue. What you may find even more amazing is how CBD had benefited so many ball players. You don't have to be a World Series athlete to experience the benefits either. CBD can work for any and all who participate in any kind of sporting activity. The list of benefits includes CBD reduces swelling and inflammation during training as well as after training. CBD reduces the amount of cortisol, an anti-catabolic stress hormone in your body. CBD induces rest by calming your body so that you can recover when asleep. CBD aids in weight control by reducing your appetite. CBD helps you to focus and be a better player by clearing your mind. Each of us has a system which regulates virtually every single bodily function. CBD interacts directly with that system in such a way that it will bind to the CB2 receptors, which impacts inflammation by reducing it. CBD and THC are the most well-known of the cannabinoids that come from cannabis. THC will induce anxiety, which activates the body's system. When this happens, high concentrations of cortisol are sent into the bloodstream. CBD does the opposite by interfering with the release of cortisol. This was discovered through research and essentially shows that CBD acts as a blocker, keeping cortisol out of the bloodstream. CBD is not a sedative because when administered in low doses, it activates the same adenosine receptors as caffeine. When that happens, sleep is prevented. However, when CBD is used in moderate to high doses, the receptors are not activated, which promotes relaxation and sleep. THC will stimulate your hunger pangs when CBD does the reverse. In fact, CBD will suppress your appetite to the point where it could potentially be considered an anti-obesity agent. If you have trouble controlling your food intake, this could come to you as good news because CBD could help with weight management. It is used by many MLB players to assist them in keeping their weight in check. CBD regulates your endocannabinoid system, which controls all the main functions of your body. That includes all cognitive functions. CBD has shown in studies to be able to improve mental health conditions as well as mental performance and behavior. Why MLB ball players are good examples. If you are already a professional baseball fan, you will know that there is a great deal of intensity in each and every game, even those that go into extra innings. Along with the long game time, there are several impacts that the average player can experience, ranging from collisions, strains, and springs, chasing after fly balls, or sliding into home plate. A baseball player gets bumped and bruised pretty good during the course of a game. With CBD being chosen by many MLB players to be part of their recovery program, it is a sign that these professional athletes, what they see in the product. Because CBD allows a ball player to recover from injury faster and become stronger in less time than needed in traditional healing, CBD provides a safe alternative